All right, welcome in a very special edition of Florida Football Insiders Preview. We have gone on location. Todd Gracely, TJ Reeves. We're at Furman Nissan of Tampa. Come check out the new and pre-owned automobile special offer coming up, too, from Furman Nissan as well. Good to see you, and things rolling along in October, Todd.
Absolutely, and what an exciting weekend of football last week, both in the college and the NFL. We had some overtime thrillers, and for you and I, we had a little bit of heartbreak and a little bit of heart failure, it seemed.
You're going to bring it up, aren't you? UCF 31, my alma mater Memphis 30. I couldn't see you, but I was getting text messages. You were having a heart attack because the Tigers were up 13 on your Knights, came roaring back. They still have the win streak.
Right, we call them the Cardiac Knights, and they were out in full force again on Saturday in Memphis in what were unpractical conditions for the Knights.
Yeah, it was not exactly ideal with all of the rain. All right, so we know UCF is undefeated. Let's go ahead and take a look at the college schedule. You'll notice that Miami off the loss to Virginia, not playing this week. Gators off the win against Vanderbilt, have the week off before they play Georgia. The schedule has Florida State hosting Wake Forest in the afternoon off of a bye week themselves. And then at night, UCF will be playing at East Carolina. Should be a winnable game. We're on that in a bit. And USF hosting UConn, as the Bulls are also undefeated in this. And Todd, everybody's pointing to the end of the season. UCF, USF, both teams, though, got to keep winning.
Absolutely. Right around Thanksgiving time is when that matchup happens. It'll be at Raymond James Stadium this year, and I think it'll be an exciting one. But like you said, nobody can take this schedule for granted. This conference, there's a bunch of good teams, and they have to take it 1 week at a time, and hopefully they're undefeated in that last weekend in November.
All right, so there is the slate coming up again. Knowles in the afternoon, and again, UCF on the road. A little bit of a tough environment at East Carolina, USF at home coming on Saturday evening. Let's begin with Florida State taking on Wake Forest. The Noles, again, have not played since they dropped that game to Miami after leading by 20 down at Hard Rock Stadium, only to have the Canes come back and win it. So Florida State endured the Hurricanes, and then they, in all seriousness, endured Hurricane Michael slamming the Panhandle. The Noles had to evacuate. It cut their practice week, obviously, short. There was some damage in and around the Florida State campus, but now they are ready a week later to get ready for this ACC matchup against a Wake team that, look, they've been up and down. They've won a couple of games, but blown away by Clemson the last time out, 63-3. This should be a game for DeAndre Francois to get clicking, get the run game going with Akers and Patrick. Florida State should be able to win this, even if they have to gut it out. They're favored by double digits. Let's see if the Noles can get back on the winning track Saturday afternoon in Tallahassee. For the USF Bulls, boy, you talk about living dangerously. 4 straight wins where they have had to pull the game out basically in the fourth quarter. The UMass game, they were up by a couple of scores a couple of weeks ago. Last week, down by 14 points in the second half against a Tulsa team with a 1-4 record. The Bulls able to rally, got the last-second field goal. Blake Barnett led them into scoring position, got the field goal. So it's a win. I understand they're undefeated, but you have to understand that most people are questioning 4 straight games where you play teams with a losing record and barely won. There are a lot of people knocking the Bulls, and it's not going to get any better because UConn is not good coming in as the opponent. So the Bulls may very well win and improve their record to 7-0 in doing so, but there are a lot of question marks around Charlie Strong's team. Let's see if they take care of business. And again, as we've been discussing, pointing to that matchup with UCF, got to keep winning if you're USF as they get ready to play on Saturday night.
That's a sound all UCF fans are making this weekend after barely escaping Memphis on the road in the Liberty Bowl. Tumultuous conditions, pour down rain. UCF was down at half, really big. Darrell Henderson had a monster game, over 150 yards rushing, 1 score, but the Knights defense bared down in the second half. Josh Heupel told his team at halftime, as did Randy Shannon, we have to make this a 0-0 ball game and play a whole 60 minutes. That's exactly what they did. A couple of gutsy calls by Heupel on 4th and 1 inside their own 30-yard line. They bust a 70-yard touchdown run, as does Taj McGowan. So the Knights come away in escape victory, and as Mackenzie Milton said in the post-game conference, good teams have to win these close games. It's what builds character, and if they want to stay undefeated, they want to get that championship berth, they have to win these key games. Coming up this week, another road test against East Carolina. Now, East Carolina struggling on offense and defense. One of the worst teams nationally in scoring offense and scoring defense. The Knights had Shaquille and Shaquem Griffin off of their bye weeks in Seattle come in, talk to the team. They're pumped up. Wasn't the best game last week for UCF. Turnovers, penalties killed them. How will they bounce back this week? I think Josh Heupel will have the Knights poised and ready to pick up their 20th win in a row.
Florida Football Insiders Preview brought to you in part by Furman Nissan. From now to the end of the football season, get an exclusive offer from us at FFI, a $500 Amazon gift card with any new or pre-owned car purchase. Go to FurmanNissan.com to see more of the great deals. All right, and we'll see what happens now with these matchups with UCF seemingly on the collision course. Again, it may be a little tougher for USF. There are a lot of people saying the word fraud around Charlie Strong's team at 6-0 and ranked in the top 25. They even moved up 2 spots in the top 25 after the Tulsa win. We'll see how that goes. Let's look at the NFL schedule. And again, for all 3 Florida teams, they are all at home and they're all playing an early game on Sunday, Todd. The Dolphins, off of that emotional, dramatic win over the Bears, snapping their 2-game losing streak, they will play host to the Detroit Lions at Hard Rock Stadium. For the Jaguars, they've been thumped the last 2 weeks, so it's home sweet home in a divisional matchup with the Texans. And then the Buccaneers, smarting with a 3-game losing streak, having gotten rid of defensive coordinator Mike Smith, they're going to play host to the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield. So in the case of 2 of the teams, the Jags and the Bucs, they can't wait to get back home and try to get things going.
That's right. You know, the Jaguars' home has been very good to them, and they'll have a tough task against the Texans, which we'll talk about in a minute. But they've won their last 3, and this is a huge divisional game for these 2 teams. Whoever wins can be atop the divisional standings, and if the Titans win, they'll be tied with them.
How about that the Jaguars were in such great shape just a couple of weeks ago, but you play some better teams, Kansas City and Dallas, get thumped by both of them, and now you're on verge of being out of the top spot in the AFC South, if that is the case. Okay, so again, all early games, Miami, Jacksonville, and Tampa Bay all playing at home for this weekend in early starts.
Home sweet home. The Jacksonville Jaguars are glad to be back in the Duval after losing in Dallas and in Kansas City last week. The Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott ran all over the Jags to the tune of 40-7. The offense, Blake Bortles and company, abysmal. Bortles throwing for 149 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground, less than 50 yards for the running backs. In the air, less than 50 yards for the receivers. That's not going to get the job done, especially against a Texans team that has won their last 3 games and have a swarming defense that will force those turnovers. Big divisional contest. If the Texans or the Jaguars can win, along with the Titans' loss, they will be in sole position of first place. We'll see who comes out on top in Jacksonville this Sunday. It is officially Brocktoberfest in South Florida as Brock Osweiler led the Dolphins to a 31-28 overtime win last weekend against the Bears. Osweiler throwing for 3 touchdowns, 380 yards, 2 interceptions as Ryan Tannehill was sidelined with a shoulder injury. Albert Wilson named the Conference Player of the Week for his performance at wide receiver, scoring 2 touchdowns. Frank Gore, a beast on the ground as well, over 100 yards rushing, and I bet the Dolphins are thanking themselves now for that offseason acquisition. This week, Matt Stafford and the Detroit Lions come to Miami and Hard Rock Stadium. Should be a great contest between the 2 teams.
Well, Todd, for the Buccaneers, 3 consecutive losses. Went back to Jameis Winston last week in Atlanta. Wild game, hard-fought game, and it ends up being 34-29. The Falcons win, and Mike Smith, the defensive coordinator, dismissed after the game. So now Mark Duffner will call the defensive signals for the Bucs in this matchup at home with the Cleveland Browns coming Sunday. Baker Mayfield, the #1 pick, the Heisman Trophy winner a year ago from Oklahoma. They come off of a blowout loss at home to the Chargers, now rolling into Raymond James Stadium. Buccaneers, meantime, showed some explosiveness again with Winston at the controls. He threw touchdowns to 4 different receivers. Bucs try to get back to level at 3-3 with this matchup coming early. Heat may be a factor also, even though it's October, 90-degree day. The Browns are going to be in the dark jerseys. We'll see if that's a factor at Raymond James Stadium coming on Sunday. Let's see if the Bucs are better on defense. Right now, they are last in terms of pass yards allowed, last in terms of points allowed. Nowhere to go but up. Let's see if the Buccaneers improve that this week and get a win against the Cleveland Browns. All right, now we're back inside the showroom, FurmanNissan.com. Todd Gracely, TJ Reeves, what do you think here?
It's a beautiful dealership. If you need a used or pre-owned or a brand new car, come out and give them a try.
Yeah, and they've got the $500 gift card offer exclusively with us on the FFI preview here that you get a $500 Amazon gift card with a purchase of new or pre-owned. We're standing in front of the redesigned 2019 Altima. You get a look at it right here. Redesigned. It starts for as low as $23,200 for your opportunity to get a hold of that vehicle. All right. So one more time, we'll look at the schedules. What intrigues you the most with the college games? No Gators, no Miami. All three NFL Florida teams playing at home. What intrigues you the most?
I think the Jaguars and the Texans. I think for the Jaguars, can they get that offensive identity back? Can the Jaguars snap the Texans' 3-game win streak? Can they bounce back, find their winning ways? They're going to be able to do it at home. So that's a big one. And for the Bucs, I think some light at the end of the tunnel with Jameis Winston threw 4 touchdowns last week. He did have 2 interceptions, but a defensive change. I like the Bucs in this one as well.
All right, again, all the Florida teams get to play at home. They're all playing early on Sunday on that schedule. And again, we'll keep an eye on your nights. I know I still owe you
And
lunch.
you're wearing purple.
I am wearing purple, but that does, I don't know. Is that East Carolina purple?
I think so. So
be.
you went blue last week, purple this week. So
Could be.
keep wearing the other team's colors. It's good for us.
All right. We'll see what happens with that. Can the Knights and the Bulls keep winning before they meet each other? We're going to find out. For Todd Gracely, I'm TJ Reeves. Again, check out FurmanNissan.com for more on the car deals. We'll see you next week for the preview.